Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. First off, as you might recall, about a month or so ago, I decided to do Skype calls, one-on-one Skype calls with randomly selected BTT viewers who were interested. I did it because I was trying to reach a goal on Twitter, which I did very quickly, thanks to all of you. I really appreciate everyone who follows me on Twitter, and now, of course, on Instagram as well. I have a lot of fun interacting with you guys. But now, it was so much fun talking with you guys, and so many people were interested that I couldn't accommodate. I've decided just to do this now on a regular basis, without any goal needed, without any goal necessary. However, to be picked for a Skype call, you do need to follow me on Twitter. And also to let me know if you want to have a Skype call, you have to tweet me. I know some of you might write down in the comments down below, but I'm doing this whole thing through Twitter. The who wants to do it, notifying you, setting up the call. It's just easier to do it all through one service. So, once again, if you would like to join me for a approximately 5-minute Skype call sometime in February, I'll pick a day and then you can pick a time slot during that day. International calls, totally cool. Spoke to people all over the globe last time, thanks to Skype. So anyone can enter who's interested, and I look forward to talking with many of you. I'm going to pick around 20, but anyone can enter, and I will pick the people for the call at random. So again, what you have to do is, I'm getting a lot of responses already, so I'll basically make it like over the next 24 hours, and then by the end of the week, you'll know if you're getting a call, the end of this week. So pretty fast return there. So just tweet me over on Twitter at Grace Randolph and just let me know you'd like a Skype call so I know what you're tweeting me about. All right, so I just wanted to announce that. Now let's get on with today's morning movie news. Now we have 3 very interesting stories, and you might be wondering how that third one relates at all to movies, but you'll see. It's a little bit slow right now, but I managed to fill the 3 slots, and I think I filled them well. All right, so anyway, the first story is about Thor Ragnarok, with a pretty big rumor, rearing its head yesterday. Now, there's been, kind of confirmation that Cate Blanchett will be playing Hela. That's someone we all kind of guessed she would be playing. I hope that she breaks the Marvel villain's curse. I think she's a good contender to do so, and I would hate to see Cate Blanchett embarrassed. But she was so good in Cinderella as the evil stepmother. She was actually my favorite part of that movie, and I think, of course, you would be hard-pressed to find a better Hela. But now we actually have a very, I think, disturbing development about how the movie is developing, the plot line. So let me first walk you through it, and then we'll discuss it. So now, Loki and Hela, the idea is that they're going to team up together. Right now Loki is ruling Asgard, disguised as Odin. I guess Anthony Hopkins is like, my time here is winding down. Please, do something about it and give me a good send-off. I actually don't really care. I just am not going to stay around for much longer. I'm giving you a heads up. So anyway, Loki, at least I want less shooting time. So Loki and Hela team up, and then somehow Thor, of course, finds out and gets wind of their evil plans. And so he confronts them, and they not only destroy Mjolnir, but they banish Thor from Asgard. Or maybe, I wonder if they destroy Mjolnir or they bring in like Lady Thor. A lot of us thought maybe they would go the Lady Thor route because Lady Thor is so popular in the comics right now. I mean, she's the Thor title. It's just called Thor, but to distinguish the two, we have to call her Lady Thor. Sorry, Jane Foster. But anyway, it's a wonderful comic, and I'm so proud of the artist on it, Russell Dauterman, who of course was the artist on my comic, Superbia, that I created for Boom Studios. So he does such wonderful work, not only within the comic, but also the covers. Very talented individual. But anyway, so it looks like they're going with a different storyline. So Loki and Hela team up, destroy Mjolnir, and banish Thor from Asgard. And then he winds up somehow on the planet Sakaar. You might be starting to see where this is going, and he's forced to fight. They said he shaves his head, he loses his golden locks. Does anyone want to see shaved head Chris Hemsworth? I don't know. So anyway, he has his head shaved, and he's forced to fight in the gladiator arena. Sounding more and more familiar? And then he, even without his hammer, he's able to beat all the combatants and finds himself going up the boss level gladiator contender, who is, I'm sure many of you are already guessing this at this point, the Hulk, who doesn't remember why he's there, perhaps so consumed by rage, perhaps brainwashed by the people who run this gladiator arena. But anyway, Hulk and Thor fight Thor helps Hulk remember that they shouldn't be fighting, and then they break out together and, obviously go back to Asgard and save the day, etc., right? And probably have some real heart-to-heart conversations. So obviously, because they can't do the Planet Hulk storyline because they don't have the individual solo rights for a Hulk movie right now that's still over at Universal, they're just going to roll it into Thor Ragnarok, and by the way, I have no idea how this has anything to do with Ragnarok. Maybe because of Hela, but, because she's like the Hades, basically, of Asgard. She's the, goddess of hell. But it makes absolutely no sense. And I don't know, they shouldn't have a Thor Ragnarok. They should have like some Hulk kind of, or Planet Thor, call it, I guess. But I guess, I don't know. I think that they're like, it's a cool storyline. Hulk did go off in the ship, in the Quinjet at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. I guess it has space capabilities, and he found himself off on this planet. Now, the only thing I think the only person this is going to make feel good is Black Widow. It's like, my boyfriend felt so bad about breaking up with me that he threw himself into a gladiator arena and lost his memory. I mean, that makes her look pretty good, right? She's like, I think I came out of this looking pretty good, because it was pretty embarrassing at the end of Age of Ultron when he would rather go off into space alone or off to a deserted island by his own than be with me after I threw myself at him multiple times. I think it took a little bit of Black Widow's street cred with her. But anyway, I think this will restore it. But I don't know. I feel that the Planet Hulk storyline is so wonderful. I have mixed feelings about giving it to another character. I mean, there's so many. Like, are they going to talk about the fact that Hulk fell in love on Planet Sakaar, had a child? I think that that's just such a wonderful storyline. And I think one of Hulk's best storylines that he ever had, to like mix Thor in there. I don't know. I'm torn because it would give us a chance to see the Planet Hulk storyline, which, by the way, you're going to see is a lot like John Carter of Mars. But at the same time, it will not be the Planet Hulk storyline. I think Marvel is really being risky here, deviating from the source material so much all of a sudden, like with Civil War and now Planet Hulk, considering that's what was one of their, best assets in the beginning of the MCU. So I'm curious. I really like using polls. I started using it yesterday for the Sassy Superman video and the Batman v Superman TV spots. I had a lot of fun, having everybody, a lot of you seem to like it too. You click on the, it's here, click on the I and you can vote in a poll. So the poll today will be, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea to have Planet Thor? Or do you feel that it's stealing Hulk's storyline and giving it to Thor, who has plenty of his own good storylines, including many good Ragnarok storylines? So I would have preferred to see like the Battle of the Nine Realms that they recently did. That would be much more playing into the fantasy element. I don't know why they keep pushing Thor into the space area. I'm like, he's not a space character. We'll see. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Please be sure to vote. Now, the second story of the day is the Warcraft trailer that dropped on the weekend, Warcraft trailer 2. Now, I saw this, people talking about, someone tweeted it to me. I think it trended momentarily, but I'm curious, especially after we talked about Batman v Superman yesterday and how they're basically recutting the same material again and again. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that it's a good idea to re-release material basically in promoting a film? Or do you feel that considering the scrutiny that these trailers now are under these days, that it's a bad idea, they really should give us fresh material, or at least a third of it should be fresh, in my opinion. Like, nothing was fresh in the Warcraft trailer 2. And then also they released a new Batman v Superman trailer yesterday, and it just had one shot of Wonder Woman on Turkish Airlines closing the overhead compartment, and that was it, right? And I think maybe one close-up shot of her. So it's like, why would you call this a new trailer? It's just you're messing up the trailer numbers, so people know what to search for. I think that these things need to be, I think they can't just like barf up promotional material anymore. I think it needs to be very well planned. I think like Suicide Squad, I think is doing a nice job. I think everything needs to be ordered. For instance, when they release a Comic-Con trailer, like a lot of people thought Suicide Squad, the new trailer was trailer 2, but it's actually the official trailer, and then there was the Comic-Con trailer. So, you have to understand how these are labeled correctly to find them, and it just makes things very confusing. And I think that Hollywood has to get this stuff in order so that we can all enjoy it in an orderly fashion. But I'm curious, what do you think? Do you think the trailers do need to evolve as the audiences become more sophisticated and ad campaigns are more closely scrutinized? Or do you think they can do whatever they want, and if they want to just keep re-releasing the same material, who cares? You like looking at it, right? So my camp is you gotta decide. So actually, we'll make that the second poll of the day. I'm having fun with polls, so we'll try it today and see how it works, so you can vote on both stories. All right, so the third story of the day is about Twitter. Now, let me first tell you what's happening, and then we'll discuss how this relates to movies. So Twitter is having real problems. Now, this was a story that surfaced actually about a month or so ago, that Twitter just could not figure out how to make any money. And they were, while there seemed to be a number of people who were enjoying Twitter, it really actually was not that many in comparison to a place like Facebook, right? Like Twitter just has not really caught on beyond like people who are really plugged in. But among like the general public at large, Facebook just, makes Twitter look like nothing. So Twitter, it's very, very frustrating for the company because they have some people who are very plugged in, but the people who have now invested in Twitter, when you go public, it really creates a problem because now you have investors who demand results, right? So the investors are saying you have to make a profit. And Twitter's like, well, we don't know how to make a profit without maybe totally ruining what we've built here, and people really like it. Then the investors turn around and say, well, I'm glad they like it, but this isn't like a charity, website. This is now a business that has people invested money in it, and they expect a return, and you have to deliver. So Twitter is in a really difficult spot. So this has evolved, this news story, to the point where yesterday a number of people at Twitter left. Now, the reason I put it in air quotes is that a number of key people in top positions left the company suddenly. Now, the rumor was that they were fired, but Twitter got onto Twitter and defended it and said, oh, these are nasty rumors. These people all voluntarily left. And the reason Twitter can claim that, because it's really unlikely that every top, that four to six top people at the company decide to leave at once. That's a very bad sign. But Twitter can claim this because if you get a good golden parachute when you're fired from a company, they say, hey, look, we have to fire you. It's not you, it's us. But we will give you a crap ton of money if you keep your mouth shut. And so who's not going to take that deal, especially that they're now unemployed? So everybody says, okay, give me my money. They sign the contract, a non-disclosure agreement. So they won't talk to anyone. And so Twitter can say whatever they want about the circumstances under which these people left, and they go deposit a big fat check in their bank account. Maybe not that fat, but a check. So anyway, then it's also been announced that Twitter is going to have a retreat today where they're going to discuss the future of the company. Now, that's very scary stuff. And of course, Twitter's stock dropped a little bit, but all the stocks are dropping right now. But what's really scary about this to me is, what would the world be like without Twitter? A lot of us have invested a lot of time in Twitter. I've invested a lot of time in Twitter. You've invested a lot of time in Twitter. Nobody's invested more time in Twitter than, say, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, look at Chris Pratt, Robert Downey Jr. These people have built up huge followings, which are helping them and helping their movies. You're seeing a really good return for social media engagement. Social media engagement has become a top priority when trying to get branding deals, when trying to, prove that you have a following. Social media has become extremely important. Look at Ellen DeGeneres when she got that great selfie from the Oscars. I mean, they were so pleased with her because she got so much social media traffic. I mean, it's like one of the most tweeted photos of all time. So it's important to, the entertainment business. But, again, apparently not too many other people. But I just think it would be crazy not to have Twitter. Not only because there's so much time has been invested in it by, and we're having so much fun. Who doesn't, how will we share memes? How will we, make fun of stuff very quickly? How will we know when news is breaking? Like, for instance, this morning, how else would I have ever known about Detective Pikachu? This crazy, Sherlock-inspired video game where Pikachu is a detective in London with this cute little red-haired boy who gives him, a really audible kiss in the trailer, which I felt seemed kind of inappropriate and weird, but it was so bizarre at the same time. And it even seemed to have the Sherlock music from the BBC show. So anyway, if you would like to watch the also, by the way, if you're not on Twitter, do you see what you're missing? I'm going to try and save the company myself. So if you haven't seen that crazy Detective Pikachu trailer, there's a link in the video description. But I'm curious, what do you think about this? I've run out of polls. I thought, maybe you can do. I think you can do 3. So we'll do another poll for Twitter. If there's no poll there, I couldn't do 3. But the question is, would you miss Twitter? All right, so that's today's morning movie news. Let's move on to the viewer question as we wrap things up. This was an interesting one. This is from Eric Arna. And Eric said, question, what's your DCEU, DC Extended Universe, wish list? Marvel has done a great job expanding their character pool in Phase 3, but what will DC do? Since they're not doing sequels yet, they've managed to give the entire Justice League a solo movie in what you would call DC's Phase 1. What will happen after 2020? What teams or characters would you give solo movies to, and what storylines would you like to see in already confirmed movies? I personally love a Zatanna movie, my favorite comic book character, a Green Arrow and Black Canary team-up movie, and the Killing Joke portrayed in the solo Batman movie. Hope you got a chance to answer my question. I've been subscribed for over 3 years, and I love watching morning movie news after I get home from school. Smiley face. Thank you, Eric. That is a wonderful question. I hope you had a wonderful day at school. So let's discuss. I think Zatanna also is a fabulous character, and you're not going to see a Green Arrow movie and a Black Canary movie because they're on TV. And one of the big problems with what DC has done is that they've really fragmented their characters, right? I mean, they have to make. We're going to discuss this actually later today with the White Martian, Green Martian storyline and how it relates to the Justice League, actually. So anyway, and what's going on in Supergirl. But they've really divided up their characters, and I think it creates something of a problem for the movies. We'll see how The Flash goes. The Flash, I think, is going to be the first character to truly coexist in both arenas, TV and movies, and and two separate characters. So we'll see if that's successful, and I'm sure DC will be watching that, and Warner Brothers will be watching that closely as well. But my thing is, I don't want to see DC copy movie for movie what the Marvel has done. I think that would be a real dilemma. I would not like that. I really wish that, and I think it's going to really dilute the business for everybody. I think that DC needs to be its own animal. And I would like them to just actually maybe focus on the Justice League in the movies, have sequels, and I think they're going to have to really think hard as to what justifies the standalone story. Because so often after the Avengers, we see solo movies and we're like, why wouldn't you call the rest of the Avengers for that? Where are the rest of the Avengers? You're seeing team-ups like Thor and Hulk now. So it's very hard for anyone to have a solo movie, I think, going forward. And I think even with Doctor Strange, you're like, is Scarlet Witch going to show up? It's gonna be an interesting situation. I think Marvel is even having some problems now. I mean, look what Captain America: Civil War has turned it into. I think once you go group, you can't go back. So I think that DC is in a special position to maybe be able to do solo movies, and it seems okay because their characters are coming from such different areas, right? You can have the mascara storylines. Also, Wonder Woman is now so old; she's lived in different time periods, so you can have things take place throughout history with her character. At least that would be very interesting. Batman, of course, has Gotham where he's like, nobody else come here. And Superman, of course, can go into space and do lots of really cool things himself where he doesn't need anybody else. So I think that could be really cool. But anyway, yes, of course, I think the Killing Joke would be interesting. I think there are a lot of great things to go with Batman. And I think the Suicide Squad movie is interesting as well. But I think that I would keep it mostly Justice League, and I guess Suicide Squad. But I think, and they're thinking of doing Justice League Dark. I think Justice League Dark seems too similar to Suicide Squad. I mean, you don't want to cannibalize your own properties. What I'm leading to here is I really wish that DC would have shows like the Netflix shows that Marvel has that are in the same universe. That you could have Zatanna. I think Zatanna would be an amazing Netflix style show. I mean, I really feel, and I've said this before, I think that DC should be working very hard to make some kind of digital deal with some kind of subscription video on demand. Now we know the term, right? SVOD from that story earlier this week. Or I think it was the end of last week, but we need an SVOD deal for DC. So they can explore these kind of characters that you mentioned, Eric, without diluting the movies, right? I think that would be really great. Maybe that's where Justice League Dark would be well suited to survive, although the visual effects budget for that would be insane. But we'll see. I really would just like to focus on, the Suicide Squad, which is basically all the villains from all these Justice League characters. You can do it that way, although what are you going to do about the poor Flash? All of his villains are on TV as well, so he has a double problem. And then, take the secondary characters and explore them in another medium. But that's my thoughts on it. I'd be curious how everybody else feels. Do you want to see just the DC version of the MCU? Or do you agree that it should be a little bit different? I mean, have some self-respect, DC. Don't copy Marvel, as I said, movie for movie. I think that's not only embarrassing, but it's risky. So we'll see. But they're copying them a lot, as we'll discuss later today. But anyway, that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please write down below your answers, your thoughts on all 3 stories. Don't forget to vote in the polls in the right here in the I. You click on the I for the polls, and then of course your thoughts on Eric's question. I'm sure a lot of you will want to comment on that. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and you can check out these other episodes right now.